Okay, George McPhee joins us, general manager of the newest franchise in the NHL, the 31st franchise, the Vegas Golden Knights. First of all, George, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you.
We're talking off the top of the program, sort of what information can you glean from an event like this? I talked to one trainer, said, you know what, one of the things that I look for is where players may be prone to injury. You can tell when you get a sort of cross-section of what these guys are doing. But from your point of view, from your perch, what are you looking to take away from this week?
Well, from the week, certainly the interviews are important, and I find them really informative. Mm-hmm. And the good news is I think there's hope for this world.
Awesome kids.
They are outstanding kids. They are mature and intelligent and humble and athletic. They look after themselves. They're so well-mannered. It's really an impressive thing to experience every summer, and it seems to get better every summer.
Yeah, Sam and I just mentioned that too before you came on, how important it is to have a good showing, not just physically and not just during the season, but at the interviews. I mean, as a general manager, how much stock do you put in on how a kid presents?
A lot. Yeah, I think when you've done this for a while, you get to read kids pretty well, and you want the right people in your room. You don't just want good players. You want good players that are really good people. And for the most part, all the NHL guys are. But you want to make it easy on yourself, and because it's hard enough to win. Mm-hmm. And try to get the right ones. Try to get the ones that'll be good leaders and take you places.
Not just for the Vegas thing, but I think you've got to be the luckiest guy in the world to be able to go into a situation and paint your own picture. You've got an owner that's been extremely supportive. You and I have talked about that a little bit. But to be able to start from the ground floor and take all the experiences you've had and tweak some things, I mean, how much fun has that been? It must be a blast.
It's been a really special experience, more rewarding than I ever imagined. And it's just such a positive experience when you're putting it all together. You feel like you've won a couple of championships or something, because everybody's upbeat, everybody's positive. That may change next October, but it's sure been a neat thing. And as we all know, it's probably a lot easier to go into a place and build your own culture and your own staff than try to go someplace and change a culture. That's hard, and that takes a lot more time. So hopefully we can get to where we'd like to be quicker as a result of building it from scratch.
Well, I've looked at some of the guys: Misha Donskov, Scott Luce, Aaron Janelle, Kelly McCrimmon, Kelly Kissio. I mean, you've put together kind of like an all-star team of management people. Tell us about the process of going out and finding that group and talking to them, and how you arrived at some of those decisions.
Well, I guess the mantra was for me to find the best human talent I could find for every position, and that's what we've tried to do all the way through. And it was really helpful to have Kelly McCrimmon on board early, and some of the guys we brought in early, because they did a terrific job of vetting people. And they had great, Kelly's just got this great network of people he talks to all the time. And so that's where it started, and we're just trying to stay with that. And it's interesting that it's taken us a full year to put it all together. Mm-hmm. But we needed a full year, and we're just going at this frenetic pace. But we're doing it right, just enough that I think we're being able to slow down, make a good decision here, and then we move on to the next thing. And it's just enough time to make a good decision there, and then we move on to the next thing. So it's been a full year, and we needed it.
How many of these kids have you already gone out to watch? Like, how active are you getting to the rink, whether it's Patrick or Hischier or Europe, Heiskanen? Like, how active have you been watching these kids, getting your own eyeballs on them?
Yeah, I've seen, I don't know how many kids we have here. 120, is that what we have? Probably seen 90 of them. Mm-hmm. And I really work hard at this. And it's interesting to watch them play and then get a chance to interview them and then put the two together.
Right.
And then to watch them here. And I just try to look at this to determine, is this, without looking at all the data, you get that a little bit later, but just to see it, is this a body that will hold up in the NHL for the next 15 years? and I'm just sort of doing that on instinct. And it's worked pretty well in the past. So
you get
that's why we keep doing it.
2 drafts this year. Now, I am addicted to those online expansion draft simulators. You know, my wife will wake up and I'll still be playing this and say, "Are you doing the Vegas simulator again?" Like, stop that. Go to bed. Stop it. How many different times have you sort of in your mind, put together what you think your expansion draft team is going to look like, only to tear it up and then do it all over again?
Yeah.
How's that process been for you?
It changes all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's with every mock draft we do, it changes, and then someone makes a trade and it changes again. Yeah. It's changed for a lot of reasons. One, our staff knows the players a lot better. It changes because some people have really elevated their play and some have regressed. So there's lots of reasons for the changes, but it's been a fascinating process.
Yeah. Do you have a sense of who you might be looking? Like how foggy of an idea do you have, or how sharp a lens do you have, one or the other, what your team might look like?
Well, with respect to the other teams, we're pretty fluent in what they want to do. Yeah. We have a pretty good idea that when we talk to them and they tell us what they want to do, it's sort of what we were thinking as well. What our team will look like, I'm not quite sure yet, because there are going to be some moves. And I've said this 1,000 times, until we see everything.
Yeah. Because
everything is related to everything else. If I make one move, it affects other things we would do. I don't know what it's going to look like.
Everything on the table. One final thing on the expansion, because I'm fascinated by it.
Sure.
Should we be surprised if Vegas, say, and I'm sure you've heard this theory out there before, takes 7 goaltenders to use them as assets to build a team? Should that surprise us if that happens?
Yes and no. Again, I don't know whether I'd take 7 goalies, because it depends what it all looks like. And someone might have a good goalie, but we like a defenseman on that team more.
Right.
So I don't know.
You have a tough job.
Fascinating.
This is so tough.
But it's
awesome.
It's not tough. It's not tough. It's intense and it's been busy, but it's really been a lot of fun. But we have to get it right. It's been fun up until this month, and in a couple of weeks we got to get it right. It's really, really important to the franchise.
What have you taken from your previous experiences that you would change or differ if it was just one thing that you've taken into Las Vegas?
One of the things we have done is we've changed models that we used to use, because things change in this business, and medical departments have really changed, and strength and conditioning departments have really changed. So I guess how we set up the front office and some of the other things, those models have changed.
I look at those things and I find they're super important, because when you have a salary cap, you can only do so much with what you do with your players. But when you're looking at spending X million of dollars on a player, or you're looking at a nutritionist or whatever else who cost relationship to what a player is, you can get 3 or 4 of those types of guys to help your team along at, let's say, $300,000 or whatever the case might be, as compared to a player who's going to cost you $1 million who might get injured or not benefit from not having those types of people. So have you moved sort of in that direction on the auxiliary things?
Well, you have to, and you have to find an edge wherever you can find an edge, because, unlike other businesses, this business is probably the hardest business to have success in, because the playing field gets leveled every summer with the draft, and we have a salary cap to keep everybody pretty level and competitive. So you have to find, with whatever resource it is, a way to be a little bit better, and hopefully the laws of accumulation work in your favor, and you keep doing the right things, you keep getting better results.
As you talk to more and more of these kids that are available for this year's NHL draft, what stands out to you? What impresses you the most? Are there any kids that sort of really jumped out at you in the interview process, that sort of blew you away by way of maturity? What's impressed you, George?
Well, what impresses us is how every year, you have a year like we did this year, where you interview these kids and they are just the greatest kids. they really are the greatest kids. And you come back next summer, and they're even better. And it's gone this way. I've been coming to the Combine for many, many years, and it's just improved. You know, there were, say, 20 years ago, you do the interviews, and there might be 10 or 15 kids you say, geez, I'm just not sure about the character.
Right.
I'm not sure about, you know, deep down his soul, is he strong enough to be a guy that you need in the playoffs and that sort of thing. And now there might be 3 at the most.
Yeah.
You interview 80 kids, and there might be 3 that you're not sure about. The rest of them are outstanding. So, I get blown away every summer by that, and just so impressed with this business that we work in, that we have these great athletes that come from all over the world, and they're just great, humble kids. And it's just, you know, I guess we're all regular folks working in a great business, but these kids make it. They're outstanding.
Well, and I think we gotta wrap it up.
Yep.
And let you get back to work and watching stuff. Really appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
I'm just so fascinated. I'm so excited for you guys for being able to build from the ground floor, to be able to eventually get there and watch a game. Gerard Gallant's an old junior guy, that we've grown up, loving. So it's pretty cool for me to see how this has all come together. And we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. It's been a really neat experience, and specifically, like right in Vegas, the civic pride that the folks in Vegas have for this team. You know, that we're born there.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
Kelly
So
McCrivens are
it's been
great.
neat.
There's another Brandon Wheat Kings. You're going strong on Canadian junior hockey, George. Look at you, Phil Bowling,
Well,
guy.
We love it.
I'm
Thanks,
Canadian too.
You said get it right.
Thank you.
We're sure
Yes,
you will.
we're
Thanks so
trying.
much, George.
Thank
Thanks,
you very
George.
much,
George
gentlemen.
McPhee is the general manager of the Vegas Golden Knights, the 31st franchise in the NHL.